Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of CookieCast. Today on CookieCast, it's the football podcast. Apologies, early doors. The internet gods were not with us this evening, and we did have a technical glitch so far through the podcast. Huge apologies. Obviously, there is very little that we can do about it, but we do cover anything missed, I believe, reasonably well. We are talking about last week's games, predicting next week's games. There is an international break on the horizon, so a little bit less content next week. But for now, let's get into the football podcast. Before we get started, please do consider like, share, subscribe, and comment. Leave a review where you can leave a review. Share it with your friends, family, and loved ones. That's the big one. Right, let's get started. Here we go. This is a CookieCast, the football podcast.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are here once again to bring you your fix of non-alcoholic beer, apparently, from one of us, certainly. Was that a delicious frosted... Oh, what's the matter?
I put it in my mouth and a fly went in it.
Oh. So it was a delicious non-alcoholic beer and now it's a protein shake. Never mind, Andy. You'd be all right.
Well, you have it here. You've heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, as Mr. Woodmansey said, 0% alcohol-free Guinness with added protein. The best type of beverage. Welcome back to the CookieCast football podcast, where we'll discuss all things Middlesbrough, Nottingham Forest, and Hull City. I'm joined obviously by the three musketeers that are Andrew Cook, Matthew Moore, and Stuart Woodmansey. How has your weeks been, gentlemen?
I mean, we're going to get to it, aren't we?
I mean, anyone watching on YouTube, you can see from the sheer elation on Mr. Woodmansey's face and the sheer joy emanating from his fingers that were gleefully clasped together in front of his face in only the way that a maniacal, evil genius would tell you that Hull City's results this week may have been on the positive side of things. But we'll get to that later on. However, unfortunately, we do have to start with a negative on the podcast, and that is Nottingham Forest versus Fulham from week 7. Not the result that you were probably hoping for, but one that you perhaps foresaw, Mr. Moore.
I foresaw it, but still disappointed by it.
Absolutely.
It's obviously we had an unbeaten start to the season, and that was all kind of all well and good. I think I texted you guys.
Didn't you guys beat Liverpool?
We beat Liverpool, yeah. You know
that was it.
Anybody hear that?
I forgot about that.
Beat Liverpool. And I think I texted you guys at like about 1:45 when the teams got announced. It was like, oh, Big T's back, playing 2 up front. What I failed to do was look at the rest of the team and realise that we got 4 centre midfield players. Lacking creativity might be a phrase. So apparently,
width?
Yeah,
who needs width?
It's not been successful for us like throughout this season already. Like when we beat Liverpool. That width definitely didn't help us at all there. So yeah, like strange decision. 2 strikers on. Good to see Tyrell get his some minutes behind him. But yeah, I think from what I've seen and read, it got to half time and the phrase these two could be playing till next week and they still won't score. Was the kind of the common phrase. But unfortunately, just after half time, I don't want to start this again because it kind of feels like we're back to that kind of, back to last season. But a very soft penalty would have been my analysis. Was given by VAR. And it's the usual kind of thing of, they're calling the ref over to the screen, which means we're 100% going to get a penalty given. Neatly tucked away by Jimenez. Had a real kind of lots of stops on the way, kind of stopped off for a coffee, then stopped off to get a paper, then decided to take his penalty afterwards. But yeah, neatly finished. So fair enough. But then also, if that was a penalty, the foul on Anthony Elanga was also a penalty, because if we're doing soft shit penalties, the foul on Anthony Elanga in the box when Forest were chasing it was also one. But looking at the stats, looking at the highlights of what I've seen before, probably didn't deserve anything. A point perhaps would have been fair because Fulham didn't deserve a whole lot either. But yeah, first defeat of the season. Raul Jimenez scoring against Forest again. I think I seem to feel like he scores against Forest all the time. Yeah, end of the unbeaten run. What we at 5 games now with 9 points. I think looking at the run of games that we've had, it's decent. It's a decent amount of points. Kind of it's completely unrealistic that you're going to be at 2 points a game or 1.5 points a game for the rest of the season, but that would keep us relatively safe, I would think. But yeah, looking at the teams that we've played, some of them you kind of look back and think, disappointing to draw against Wolves at home. That's the key thing at the moment. It's been 2 draws and a loss at home, and only 2 goals scored, which is that's not been the path to success the previous 2 seasons. So yeah, disappointing, but spoiler alert, I'm fully expecting the second loss of the season to come this weekend.
Obviously, we'll get to that later on. Just to clarify, you said that Jimenez has a bit of a habit of scoring against Forest. At the minute, mate, he has a bit of a habit of scoring against any Premier League team. He's on fire, the lad. He's kind of taken over the mantle of when Muniz went on that run of scoring 10 straight games or whatever it felt like at the end of last season, and then he's obviously gone back in his box because he's discovered that no, he's not Pele reincarnated. He is just any other Brazilian player. Yeah, he's on a bit of a tear at the moment. Predictions wise, Andy had gone for a 1-0 Forest win with a Wood goal. No points. Stuart had gone for a 1-1 draw. Elanga and Traore to score the goals. No points. I'd gone for a 2-1 Forest win. Wood and Hudson-Odoi Forest, but I did have the Jimenez goal for Fulham, so I do bag myself a bonus point there. And obviously, as we had alluded to earlier in the podcast, Matt did predict a 3-1 Fulham win. Sadly, no Hudson-Odoi goal for Forest, no Kenny or Smith Rowe goals for Fulham, but there was the Jimenez strike. So Matt bagged himself a bonus point and a point for the correct result. 2 points for Mr. Moore. Our second game of the week took us to Humberside, where Hull City were taking on Cardiff City, and the Woodmansey clan were in attendance for this game, were they not?
Correct. We were in attendance for the 120th anniversary celebrations. Just after we'd finished recording the podcast last time around, as tends to happen, we did have some breaking news that there had been sanctioned that they could play in a special commemorative kit as a one-off. It's an all-black kit with a gold trim. It's quite tidy. It's also the 6th shirt they've released this season, in the sense of new home kit, new away kit, new third kit, not centenary, but centenary and a bit kit, and then 2 reproduction shirts of all the Boothbury Park Days stuff. So yeah, really, really good idea, but you're kind of doing it to death. Why could that centenary kit not have been our home kit this year?
Don't forget the goalkeeper kits.
Oh, of course.
I think
Yeah,
that
they've got
I'll
3 of them.
forgive them the retro kits because all clubs do that now. You go onto the Forest website and you can get 6, 7, 8 different retro kits, kind of thing, because it just seems to be the. I mean, I would say gentlemen of a certain age. I think we might fit into that age range of going. Oh, do you remember when it was good to go to football and you didn't hate it? Here's some kits that you like to watch, like to wear. And you don't twist about the money either because it's like 40 quid and you go, oh, remember when kits were like 30, 40 quid? Yeah, these ones are. I remember you used to wear these ones. But yeah, I kind of forgive them that one. But yeah, including the keeper's kit, 6. So 6 kits is disgusting.
They also, for want of a better phrase, dropped a huge bollock because they didn't anticipate that actually people would want to. Because I think what they'd done was they thought, oh, we've done enough kits, so what we'll do is we'll make these super limited edition. And trying to be a little bit too cute, they made 1,904 of them because we were formed in 1904. And when people were getting angry about the supply, they've now decided to reopen a pre-order, which is open until the end of the coming weekend, so people can now order as much kit as they want from the I keep calling it Centenary, the black and gold stuff, and it'll be delivered just in time for about the first week in February. So cool.
I thought you were going to say the
Anyway.
end of the season there, which we were absolutely meant. I'm going to wear it to the last game of the season.
Well, that would have probably been more fitting because the players are only going to wear it for one game, and then the fans could have just worn it for one game. That would have been perfect, really. Anyway, enough about kit shenanigans. It was time for a celebration, apparently. So the celebrations were indeed threatened, however, on 18 minutes after Robinson sprung the offside trap and blasted into the roof of the net. Keeper had absolutely no chance. Sean McLaughlin was left absolutely laying. Yeah, just not the greatest of starts. However, as with the Stoke game, that seemed to spring Hull City into life. And Balumi picked up the ball, putting a cross from the right-hand side 4 minutes later. Nobody knocked the cross in, though, because it just went straight in. So Balumi with the first goal, his first for the club, a little bit of an accident, but we'll take that. His second goal of the game, however, was an absolute belter of a team move. So it was finished when Malin played a pass into the area. He ran onto it and then deftly chipped the keeper. And if you watch it back, it's even better because you get the whole flapping range of the keeper as you see his face like, oh shit, I can't do anything about this. So it was quite nice. It was 2-1 at half-time to Hull. Then on 51 minutes, Hull worked a short corner to Zambrano, who blasted towards the near post. And then it absolutely pinged off whichever Cardiff player it was and went in. Dubious goals committee have met. It's still classed as a Zambrano goal, so there we go. That's his first for the club as well. However, substitutions then massively disrupted the game. Not really a lot happened after that. Miller made a bit of a contribution as he has, but nothing like that really changed the game massively until the 91st minute when is it Perry NG for Cardiff? His surname is NG. Brought down Abu Kamara in the area. Penalty. Up steps Chris Bedia, whichever Andy wants to say at this moment. But he did promise that if he scored, he would actually say Bedia properly. So there was a lot riding on this penalty. And he scored. So that made the final score Hull City 4, Cardiff 1, and his pronunciation is fixed evermore. And that was it. It was the end of that game.
Very nice. Predictions-wise, it's points all round, as everyone had predicted a Hull City win. Andy, 1-0. Bedia, 2 points. Paul, that's me, 2-0. Palmer and Bedia, 2 points. Stu, 2-1. Palmer and Bedia with a Tanner goal for Cardiff City, 2 points. Matt, 2-1. Bedia and Millar. And a Colwell goal for Cardiff, 2 points. So, points bonanza right there. Our third game of the week took us to Teesside, where we see my boys Middlesbrough taking on Stoke City. And obviously Middlesbrough wanting to very much banish the memories of the horrible League Cup second round game from early this season, where I believe they lost 5-1. Or was it even, they might not have even got the one? Let me just go back through the book. It might have even been 5-0 now that I think about it. Checking thoroughly. Can't find it. They got dicked, let's put it that way. Yeah, I can't find it. They almost went 1-0 down. Stoke broke quickly, and only a smart stop from Seni Dieng kept the game at 0-0. And on the 34th minute, they made Stoke pay. Stoke gave away a free kick on the left-hand side near the centre circle. A quick free kick taken by Emmanuel Latte-Laff. Gave the ball to Riley McGree, who has managed to find his way back into the team recently. He's back from his injury woes. McGree carried it on to the edge of the box where he had a strike. The keeper parried it straight into the path of Ben Doak, who had worked his way around towards the back stick to smash home from about 6 yards for not just his first goal for Middlesbrough, but his first goal as a professional. That's his first goal in senior football. He's got goals for the Scotland underage teams. That's his first goal in senior men's professional football. The game sort of seemed to peter out from what I saw on the highlights until the 73rd minute, when it was sparked into life by what can only be described as an absolute. I'm going to use the word shit pinger from Hayden Hackney as one of those ones where pretty much rips the net out, shall we say. Again, it was good work by Emmanuel Latte-Laff, who won the ball back again near the halfway line. The ball sort of broke for one of 3 Borough players to get onto it, it seemed, but it was Hayden Hackney who picked it up, and then just basically started running at the Stoke defence. He took it past 3 or 4 of them, almost lost the ball, but then did gain it back as he got to around the D on the edge of the box, when it just sat up perfectly for him to just absolutely lash it into the top right corner. Absolutely fantastic strike. One of those ones where if it had been the only goal of the game, was worthy of winning any football match. But yes, 2-0 finished to the Borough. Points-wise, it's points bonanza yet again, as everyone had a Middlesbrough win on this one. So everyone's got at least 1 point. Sadly, no one had predicted Doak. Why would they? He's never scored in senior men's football before. Neither had they predicted Hackney to score. So I had 1-0 Conway. There's quite a lot of Conways on this one. Conway actually missed the game. I believe he's got either an illness or an injury at the moment, so he probably won't feature at the weekend. I will just double check that to make sure. But yeah, I had 1-0 Conway. Just 1 point for myself. Matt had 2-1 Conway, Latte-Laff and Manhoof. Just the 1 point there. Stu, 2-0 Azaz and Conway. 2 points for the correct score. Andy, 2-0 Latte-Laff and Bergzorg. 2 points for the correct score. Our fourth game of the week took us down that London, where Queen's Park Rangers were taking on Hull City. Now, I believe, Mr. Woodmansey, you've lost access to the Sky Sports Plus channel. A moment of silence, please, for that particular loss.
Yeah.
So you were unable.
It means I don't have to pay them money every month, so it's fine.
I mean, every cloud has a supple leather that line. I have no idea. Have you at least seen the highlights of this game?
Oh, yes. So, first and foremost, yesterday was my football partner in crime, Mr. Richard Walker's 40th birthday. So he actually had a game showing live on TV on his birthday. So he had something to watch yesterday evening, and he knew that I couldn't watch it, and texted me, "Oh my, that was a banger!" When the first goal had gone in, and it's safe to say he wasn't wrong. But yeah, it was indeed a good result for Hull again. 3-1 win, third consecutive win. But QPR, as with the other teams that we played recently, did start well. They forced an early double save from Ivo Pando, who seemingly had his best game in a Hull City shirt against QPR. A couple of double saves, a couple of other good saves as well from close range and distance. Shortly after the double save initially, though, saved down to his right from Saito. Tell you what, I don't know if you've seen any of QPR, but he looked like the only player that was actually trying at all for them last night. Saito looks like an absolute star larker, personally. But yeah, it wasn't to be because Pando kept him out. Hull got a short corner. The cross was blocked, and it sort of bounced and skimmed across the surface. It had either obviously been subject to the rain that we've all had over the last few days, or they decided to water the pitch. But the ball kind of bounced and skimmed its way across the edge of the 18-yard box, and Cody Dramé hit it on the half volley, and it then didn't touch the ground. It curled outwards to the right and down into the bottom right-hand corner. He's never going to hit a sweeter shot than that, particularly as a fullback. Very, very good. So I was quite happy with that. For the second Hull City goal, Drama actually was pretty much up top, putting pressure on QPR in their own box. He won the ball back, passed it to his left slightly to Louis Coyle, who then drove the ball across the face of goal, and Bedia to tap in for his second. So 2 in 2 games for Chris. Unfortunately, Louis Coyle's positive contribution did turn into a slight negative as he then gave away a penalty. QPR had a free kick on the edge of the penalty area. Ball was played in, and for whatever reason, decided Louis Coyle was going to jump up to head it with his hand. Always works a treat if you're Argentinian, but not on this occasion. So penalty. It was a definite touch of the hand, but man, come on, he's got to know better than that. It was, however, a very good penalty. If you ever want to see how a penalty cannot be stopped, watch the QPR penalty, which was scored by Madsen. To say top bins could not have been any more top bins. It was very good. So second half started much like the first. Saito had another good chance. He's left to roam, cutting in from the wing, drifted across the edge of the box, and he hit the post this time for a bit of an early scare. But then Hull took over again, and Miller scored his first. Cut in from the left, looking to strike the ball into the bottom right, and as he hit it, it deflected back into his path. So there was an element of fortune there. But you could see it, and the more I watch it, the better this gets, because you could see him looking up, and the keeper was still anticipating the shot to the bottom right, so he just screwed it into the bottom left instead, and just made the keeper look like an absolute numpty. It was one of them. Again, the more I watch it, I think the more he knew what he was doing, and for me, the better it gets. It wasn't the world's strongest strike, but it was perfectly where it needed to be. But yeah, really happy. Cannot complain. Like what? 10 goals in 3 games, conceded 3. I'll absolutely take that. This is the attacking football, apparently, that we've been waiting for. Fingers crossed it's the start of the team starting to gel, and long may this continue. However, we said in person during the Cardiff game, it felt a little bit like papering over the cracks whilst we were in attendance, because if Cardiff had had their proper shooting boots that day, it could have been 7-4 that game on a different day. But my only concern would be great, we're winning, but we obviously are still conceding, and there's going to be bigger and better teams that we're going to play. Spoiler alert: this coming weekend, where that might pose a bit more of an issue. So we shall see. On to the points, Mr. Williams.
Indeed, and obviously a moment's silence for old man Louis Coyle. Obviously, the cataracts got the better of him, and he obviously, decided to go with his hand rather than his head. Silly old fool. He'll know better next time when he plays walking football. Predictions wise, there were 3 1-1 draws predicted on this one. Myself, with Frey and Slater as my predictions, no points for me. Matt, 1-1 Frey and Millar, 1 point for the goal scorer there. Andy, 1-1 Fry and Bedia, 1 point there. Stu had gone for a 1-0 Queen's Park Rangers win, but did have Madsen down as the goal scorer, so bonus point there. So just me coming out of that one with no points. And we finished the week with West Bromwich Albion taking on Middlesbrough in what is deemed the Williams-Brinton derby, or the Brinton-Williams derby as it would be, with the West Brom being at home. This one was a bit stop-start, really. It got to about the 8th minute, and the game had a bit of a prolonged spell where it stopped. And it turned out it was because one of the referee's assistants had called the referee over because he was. Did it ever get explained, this one, Stu? Because I don't know if it's. I know that it's come out that he had to go to hospital.
It was really bizarre because the game just stopped, but the camera was focused on the linesman, and he was staring dead ahead. And I think at that point, the TV kind of got wind that something bad was happening, and it cut away, and it was showing both coaching staff, the players having a drink, but then they still pulled a wide shot of the stadium, but because it was the linesman on the near side, you could see that he was then laid on the ground, and there was paramedics tending to him. So it was a bit of a strange choice to then cut to that, because you could pretty much see that he was done. But yeah, I'll leave it to you to, because then they put the back call out, didn't they?
Yeah, it was a bit odd. So obviously, like Stu said, the assistant, the linesman, was getting treatment, and then I don't know if they sat him down or laid him down to give him treatment, and then obviously took him away on. It wasn't even a stretcher; it almost looked like one of those weird little sort of hand pulley cart things that's sort of wire mesh. But either way, the linesman's obviously taken to hospital, and apparently he's on the word. He's on the mend. He's on the recovery trail, so to speak. And like Stu said, the bat signal was sent up, and obviously they had to ask for if there was any fourth officials that might be obviously registered FA officials that might be in the ground that would be able to take over fourth officiating duties. And they did find someone who obviously came out of the crowd. Obviously would have had to, at that point, take his West Brom hat off and put his FA hat on for the rest of the game. But thankfully, the game kind of passed without any major incident. One thing from another sort of sad perspective was that at West Brom's game against Sheffield Wednesday at the weekend, one of the West Brom supporters, I don't know I believe it was during the game, was taken unwell, and I think it might have been a heart attack, and sadly passed away. So on the 57th minute, they had a minute's applause for the man that had passed away from the West Brom side of things, which was obviously quite poignant. And the game was back and forth. It was one of those games where it almost felt as if Borough were the home team, as they seemed to be the team setting most of the tempo, had the majority of the chances, with the one working the keeper the most. The man guilty of missing the most chances was Emmanuel Latte. Latte had a couple of chances where he had a snatched at his finish. Did have a good header where the keeper got down well to claw it wide. And like I say, it was Borough that were on the up and on the front foot. And in the 73rd minute, they actually made it count as the ball was won back and played around near the halfway line. Eventually. Apologies, ladies and gentlemen, we were having some slight technical difficulties there. So I believe before we were rudely cut off, I believe we had almost got to the point where Middlesbrough scored the only goal of this game. It came in the 73rd minute, which coincidentally was the second time in 2 games that Hayden Hackney had found the back of the net in exactly the 73rd minute. The ball was won back in the middle of the park, played out towards the right-hand side where Ben Doak picked up the ball. He fed the ball into Ryan McGree, who was on the edge of the box. He rolled the ball back to the edge of the D, where Hayden Hackney was coming onto the ball, just managed to sort of strike it low, passed it away from the keeper into the bottom left-hand corner of the net for a lovely, crisp strike. And West Brom never really got back into the game, to be honest with you. They were never really, like I say, I almost had the feel of West Brom were the away side more so than the home side, and that was reflected in the stats. I think Borough had more chances, more efforts on target, which is odd considering that up until the weekend they hadn't lost a game, and obviously now they've lost back-to-back games, which is strange. Predictions wise, myself, Mr. Woodmansey and Mr. Moore were all super negative on this one. They'd all gone for West Brom wins. Stuart gone 1-0 with Grant, so no points there for Stu. Matt and me had both gone 2-1 West Brom. I'd gone Madja, Mowat and Azaz, whereas Matt had gone Madja, Mowat and Conway. So no points there for either of us. But Andy had seen the light and had gone for a 3-0 Middlesbrough win. So a point there. The result, sadly, neither Latte Lath, Bergzorg or Azaz managed to find the back of the net. So just the 1 point from Mr. Cook. And that 1 point was enough for him to get a share of this week's win, as I finished on 4 points from 5 games. Stu, 5 points from 5 games. But Matt and Andy both finished on 6 points from the 5 games. So well played, lads. A nice, cheeky draw for the week. Week 8 brings with it 3 games, no midweek fixtures, as we are in the midst of yet another international break, because apparently we haven't had enough of those already this season. Snooze fest. So just the 3 games, 1 apiece for each of our teams. The first of which sees Norwich City taking on Hull City. This is a 12:30 kickoff, so it will be available on the Sky Sports Plus. So Stu will have to just find a pub or go to Wacker's house to watch this one or something like that. Or just have him be your own personal BBC text service. Obviously, it's Mr. Woodmansey's team. He will give his prediction last. I'll start us off here. I've gone for a 2-2 draw in this one. I think both teams are going into this in pretty decent form. I can see out the corner of my eye, Matt is not happy with that, as I believe he has also got a 2-2 draw. Let's see if we've got the same goal scorers. I'll be amazed if we have, because I don't even know how to pronounce one of the goal scorers that I've got down here for Norwich. So I've gone for Sargent and Schwartau.
One of those.
Never heard it before, but looked at it and thought, ooh, that looks exotic. Let's go for that one. Probably never scored in his life. And for Hull, I've gone for Chris Bedia on the hot hand to continue his goal scoring streak, and Malem. As we've seemingly already know what he's predicted. Matt, who are your goal scorers for your 2-2 draw?
I've got Borja Sainz and Sargent for Norwich, and Edia and Miller for
Miller. Andy?
Right, it's time to practice. It's a 1-0 Hull win with Bedia. Is this how we're doing this now? Seeing as he's getting all them goals. There we go. I can play it back to myself, and I'll be able to learn from doing.
Which takes us to the man himself. And do we have a clean sweep of Bedia selections in this week's predictions, Mr. Woodmansey?
No.
Boo.
So 3-1 seems to become a thing at the moment. Obviously 4-1 in the middle, but 3-1, it looked like it was going to finish as well with the Cardiff game. So it makes sense to pick 3-1 again, but just for Norwich instead. The owner himself said at that meeting that we went to before the season started, some weeks we'll get beat 4-0 and some weeks we'll win 4-0. So some weeks we'll get beat 3-1 and some weeks we'll win 3-1. So I've gone for Sargent, Nunez, and the aforementioned Schwartau. Because if you think the winning 4 in a row, you've absolutely Schwartau. And I've gone for Miller for Hull. Similar, I guess, with the hot hand, but Three scored his first.
Who?
With that finish. Miller.
Who?
Miller. The real one, not the pirate copy.
Oh, that Millar fella.
I know he's Canadian, but you don't it's A on the end of it. But yeah, after that lovely little finish that I raved about earlier, I think it'll give him a bit of confidence. So
I didn't realise he's only like 22 or something. Is he quite young?
He is, but I am not going to comment on a player's age on the basis of he'll clearly be nearly 50 if I mention him. So
young man Miller in his 60s. Our second game of the week is also being played on Saturday, but this is a 3:00 kickoff and sees Watford taking on Middlesbrough. Well, it's my boys, therefore I will give my prediction last. We'll go straight back to Stu for his prediction on Watford Borough.
1-1.
1-1.
Surely to God, Azaz is finally going to pull his finger out of his ass and score on the same basis of when Andy predicted Bedia to score until he finally did. This is the Azaz method now. And for Watford, I've gone for Kiyembe. Matt's going to do a big swear.
For those of you not watching the podcast, that slap that you just heard in your audio feed was Matt throwing his hands in the air in incredible frustration. Just to clarify, yeah, you went 1-1, didn't you? Because my audio cut out a little bit there.
Yeah, 1-1.
Hence the 2 goal scorers that I picked also being the goal scorers that he picked as well.
You know, so next week you need to make a point of asking Matt first.
Okay. So just to
clarify,
Matt,
it's my team next, so I'll go last. So everybody can have a go at picking.
I meant next week, but then it's an international week, so we won't be picking scorers next week anyway.
So was that, just to clarify, Matt, that was 1-1 with Kayembe and Azaz, was it?
That's it, yeah. Spot on.
Yep. It's a shame I can't just put ditto marks in my own book, but, you know, I make the rules.
I said my predictions without moving my lips.
Andy?
1-1, Kayembe and Azaz.
Really? No, I'm going with my other favourite scoreline. It's a 0-2. You know, predict them till they score. Latte Laugh and Bergzorg.
All I'll say after last week is that Latte Laugh is, whilst missing a lot of chances and, oh my good God, seemingly unable to read a line, that guy he must have got flagged offside about 5 or 6 times in the first half. Oh my God, so frustrating. Just look along the line before you make the run.
Just on that note, a stat from the game last night at QPR, Balumi got flagged offside after less than a minute. Yeah, cheers, lad. He didn't even start
Good
up
lord.
front. He's ran like fuck to get himself offside there, hasn't he? Let's be fair.
Oh, big time.
Anyway,
Yes, so I do feel that Latte Laugh must be due sometime soon. I have gone for a 1-1 draw. No, it's not KMB and Azad. I've gone for Chak Fatedzi, and now that he's back in the fold, McGree to get the goal. He's had assists in back-to-back games, so backing him to bag, as I believe the kids are saying these days, bagsman and all that fucking bollocks. And our last game of week 8 takes place on Sunday, because obviously Chelsea have European commitments this week in that competition that no one really wants to be in, the Europa Conference League. So that means that their game against Nottingham Forest has been pushed to Sunday. Obviously, Matt's team, he will go last and repeat my prediction of Chelsea 2, Nottingham Forest 1.
Nope.
For those audio listeners, you didn't hear the audible slap there.
sorry, we've got 2 more chances. 2 more chances. It's fine.
I haven't taken Matt's prediction. I've gone for a goal each for Jackson and Palmer for Chelsea, but of course, old boy rule in effect. Hudson-Odoi to score for Forest. Andy, what have you got down for Chelsea versus Forest?
It's one of those things I always like to say when Forest go up against the bigger boys. It's always a good time to get a big win to let everybody know what's going down. So it's a 2-0 Forest win. I'm going to whip out some wood all over this podcast and get the old Simpsons character in on the goals as well, Hudson-Odoi. Although I believe the Simpsons is a bit of a sore subject at the moment.
For any fans of the Simpsons online mobile game, they will be horrified to know that their servers are being shut down with no alternative. I believe so. It's a game called Simpsons Tapped Out, I believe is the game. I played it myself a number of years ago. They've been told that they're shutting the game down and they are not providing an alternative server. So everyone that's just played it for the last however many years is just going to lose all that sort of progress. So that's nice.
I was obviously referring to the fact that they've apparently just aired their final episode and gone. But
oh, I must have missed that.
Yeah, and apparently some kind of weird, complete surprise. They've gone, oh, by the way, this is the last episode of The Simpsons. Enjoy.
Just to clarify something you said earlier, you said when they play against the big boys. Is that when you're referring to that game a couple of weeks ago where Nottingham Forest beat Liverpool? Yeah?
Usually when they go up against like teams like Liverpool, and I predict them to win, that's what they do. So
on that basis, then about against the bigger boys, I'm assuming that we're knocking Manchester United down that list this time around.
No, we said the bigger boys, Stu.
Exactly.
Yeah, we're not talking about mid-table teams here. Speaking of Stu, we'll go to you next for your prediction: Chelsea versus Nottingham Forest.
Unfortunately, Matthew, I have gone Chelsea 2, Forest 0. And I've gone for Palmer because everybody that's picked Chelsea to score probably will pick Palmer. And Madueke because it's nice to write and fun to say.
It's nice to write when you don't have to write it.
Exactly.
I was looking through that Chelsea thing and I was like, which one's going to be the worst one for Paul to write?
Back in the days of Aspilicueta, stick him down every week.
Wecker or something like what's there?
Yeah, I was going to say Chukwuemeka, I believe is on the books.
So it's now 7 weeks in or 8 weeks into the season, and Paul's already had to buy a new book. Is the
it's the equivalent of like if you have kids and they want a shirt printing, and it's a case of they pay by the letter or by the number. It's a case of everyone's favourite Cardiff player, Perry NG.
Just be
Surprise,
grateful that we're not predicting Hull City games in the time of Jan Vennegar of Hesselink.
Vennegar of Hesselink. Oh, yes. So, Matt, it just leaves you to round us out this week with your prediction for your boys, Chelsea versus Nottingham Forest.
I've gone. I mean, even though we have had success at Stamford Bridge, similar to Anfield, I feel that Chelsea are slightly different. There seems to be a different kind of vibe with Chelsea at the moment. It was funny. I was listening to a podcast this week. They were saying like that it feels like Cole Palmer got out of Man City before he was Guardiola'd. So like put into his like little kind of control kind of thing, and he just plays freely, which is quite nice because you kind of think, what could have Foden have been if he wasn't put in that kind of constraints of, obviously very successful constraints, but also kind of, I don't want to say skill stifling, but it kind of has that level of like, we play this way. So yeah, I've gone for a 3-1 Chelsea win. 2 for Palmer because he's absolutely on fire at the moment. And 1 for Jackson. And I've gone for old boy rules. Hudson-Odoi, even though he could have gone for Aina as well because he is also a Chelsea old boy.
Yes, indeed. Yes, Stu?
Just on the note of Chelsea, just a special shout out for Enzo Maresca of late because, as Matt says, they finally hit a bit of form, and it must have been really hard narrowing down your team from about 300 players. So,
I think the thing is as well is that obviously the thing that's probably going for Chelsea is the fact that no one in their right mind picked him to do well because obviously it was just absolute like carnage there. So it's almost a free hit for him in a kind of weird way. But then again, it's also not a free hit in the fact that, like, in about 8 years' time, when all of those contracts come up for renewal, they are going to be fucked.
They've also spent a small country budget on there. They've also spent a country's small budget on players. Like whole country's GDP.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. They have it, ladies and gentlemen, just the 3 games, like I say, international break next week. So next week's podcast will be very, very short indeed, as we'll just be going through those games that we just predicted there. Has anyone got anything else they'd like to bring to the table for this week's show? In that case, that just leaves me to thank these 3 gentlemen for joining me to go through the details of their teams. To thank you, the listeners and watchers. Thank you for tuning in once again. If you're new here, if this is your first time stumbling across the podcast, maybe think about subscribing to the channel. It's not just football. There's a lovely American football podcast that comes out each week. There's wrestling coming your way each month. There's F1 coming your way. There's spewings from a rambling madman. What more could you ask for? Yes, like, share, subscribe to the channel. We, like I said, we'll be back next week to go through the details of those 3 games that we just predicted. But until then, take care of yourselves, keep an eye out for each other, and we'll see you next week, right back here on the CookieCast podcast. Goodbye.
So there you go, what do you think of that? Even though we had a technical error, I do think we managed to cover it quite nicely. Big thank you for watching, big thank you for listening, big thank you for being here. Before we go, do just think maybe about clicking that like, share, subscribe, all of those beauties. Leave us a review where you can leave us a review. And check out the website, thecookiecast.com. We've got social media links and an email button. And that way you can get in touch with us. Right, let's get out of here before anything else breaks. Until next time, I'm going to say bye. And I'll see you then.
Thank you for listening to these grumpy old men talk about football. If you've enjoyed this episode, please like, share and subscribe.